not this past week, last week, I got to go to New York, and I was a part of a group that partnered with the community center, and we got to hold a music camp and a sports camp for the kids there, where we had the opportunity to make connections for the church planters, which were trying to plant Queen Church. While the kids were in the music camp, they got to play games, and at the end of the week, we were gonna do a kind of like a showcase of what we learned the week. So like we learned songs, and we also, during the day, we did a lesson. Our theme for the week was Speak Life, which is basically teaching the kids about how the power of their words have meaning and of life or death. Each day from 10 to 3, we went to the community center, which is where the camp was, and then the other half went to a nearby park and held the sports camp. Next slide, please. Thank you. Oh, another one. So all the kids were split into 2 groups. There was K through 3rd being one group, and 4th through junior high/high school in the other. Since the center was government ran, we could not talk about Jesus directly with the kids, and we can't, share the gospel. But through our songs and lessons, we showed the love of God without actually saying, like, here's what God wants us to do. We did songs like Speak Life by Toby Mac, Be Our Guest by Beauty and the Beast, Trash in the Camp, Tarzan, and You've Got a Friend in Me, Toy Story. Most of the kids came from rough backgrounds. Wait, next slide, please. Some of them got beaten at home, some of them have parents absent in their lives, like in gangs, and some of them just need to know that there's people who love them. Next slide, please. That is what we were there for, to let them know that they're loved, they're not alone, and that there's people who you can talk to, who cares for you. Next slide, please. Oh, wait, another one. This is actually one of the things that was on the wall in the community center. It says, I'm thankful for my mother beating me and putting me on the right path in life. That was on the wall, and that was just something that really spoke to me, because it just made me realize, wow, these kids, not all of them are as fortunate as us here, or stuff like that. And I was like, we really do need to show them the love of God. Another thing that shocked us the most is our first day of camp. During the lessons, we had some of the staff that worked at the center talk to us about how much our lessons meant to them and how much they were learning from us. We weren't expecting that, because when we came thinking we're gonna talk to the kids, the staffers are just gonna relax, but they actually ended up participating and learning a lot. And it was just so amazing to see that we got to even talk to the staff throughout the week. We got to get to deep conversations with them, because they're all adults, and so we actually got to share the gospel with them instead and invite them to the church. Next slide, please. This is Shanice. She's one of the staffers there. We were talking during the music camp one day, and I gave her a card to the church, and she said she's never really thought about going, and she said she'd take some of the staff with her, and they'd actually try out the church we were starting, so that was really cool. Next slide, please. And this is the guy in the middle, that is Jamar, and then the girl next to him is his sister, Shakoya. Shakoya grew up, they both did, in a Christian church, but Shakoya actually said that the church kind of rejected her, didn't treat her very right, and just wasn't a good experience for her. So about a year ago, she started going to a mosque, because in New York, there's not a lot of churches there. There's Jehovah's Witness, and then right across from that is a mosque in that area that we were at. So she started going to the Muslim church, and she said she felt very accepted there, and just completely different experience from the Christian church. But whenever we got there, she said that she was just so shocked to find such loving Christians, and that she wanted to try out our church and just get to know us, and that she would start going. And she actually has a son too. She shared with us that she would take him to because he was in the camp, so he was a little kid. He was adorable. I lost my place. Sorry. Next slide. Okay, so I went with Hibernia Baptist Church, and it was such a blessing to see like how much that like these people love God, that they all have other stories from the trip, and they're just like really great people. And God did a lot in our lives on this trip, and it was just so cool just to like, it was such a humbling experience. And anyways, at the very end of the camp, next slide please, we went to this park and we did our showcase, and like they all did our songs, and then we all said our goodbyes, and it was just very cool to see how much we did throughout the week and the connections we made. And we had 51 other people sign up for the camp next week for the other group that's coming in for this past week. So that was really amazing. And so, yeah. And next slide, please. These are just some of the kids that we got to work with, and they're all really sweet kids. The boy next to me, actually, he didn't know any English, so he was very distant at first. But I actually took like the very little Spanish that I caught from this past year in high school, spoke to him a little bit and used Google Translate. And these two kids on the other side of me, they also spoke Spanish. And so he was only here for the summer from Colombia, and he was just like, he was really good at soccer. He was like so amazing on the sports side of the camp, and he just like opened up during the music side once he realized, oh, like, hey, you know, you're loved too, like, even though you don't understand what's going on, here you go. And next slide, please. And this is like us, this is one of during the lessons, we played games with them. They showed us, this game's called Quackdilio, so like even the adults got to join in, so they had lots of fun with it, and like it's really cool because we all just bonded. And next slide. These are actually the little girl on left side, on my right side in that photo. I was sitting down with her during one of the lessons, and she showed me her scraped knee, and I was like, oh, what happened? You know, thinking like she fell down or something. She looked at me and she said, my mom pushed me over. And I was like, what do I do with this? I don't know. So I told the staffers, and hopefully they took care of it. I don't know if she was just, saying it, but it was just like a lot. And I was like, wow. But yeah, next slide, please. Thank you all for helping me go on this trip. It was great. Yeah.
All right.